But as of the first of the year, I took office as the state representative for the 74th District, which is kind of a rural and an urban district. It includes two of the cities in the rapid system, Granville and Walker, and then it extends north, Alpine Township, Algoma Township, Sparta, Cedar Springs, city of Rockford. I've always thought, and I'll turn to our Kent County Commissioner, that our rapid system needs to expand countywide, even if it's a dual system, somehow to bring this county together. And personally, I'd like to see it expanded out of Ottawa County with Georgetown Township, Jenison, which is a very large urban section immediately adjacent. So that's just sort of when we're talking long-term planning and advocacy, I think that's something that makes a lot of sense. And I know it's not simple. If it was simple, it would have been done years ago. But I think it's not something we don't want to forget about. My new position, representing the 74th District, I think because of my local government and rapid service, I was put on the Appropriations Committee and named chair of the Transportation Appropriations Subcommittee, which was fascinating. As you all probably know, the governor had proposed $1.2 billion expansion of our transportation budget. And when I took my position, I said, well, you know, do we include the 1.2 billion or we don't include it? I said, I've never included revenues that we don't have yet. And long story short, all my friends, MAC and MML, all came and objected to my budget. These are my friends that I partnered with all the years. But the reality is we can't appropriate monies that we do not have. And having said that, I remain an optimist that something will be done. In the House, we did allocate $300 million that we've, quote, found from existing revenues to allocate to transportation funding. But that's a step. But I think we clearly have to do more. I think I can probably honestly say, without exception, everyone agrees we need to invest more in our roads and bridges and transportation, and that it's for a host of reasons. Josh talks about economic attractiveness, and I'm a believer in that. But also, when you talk to, you know, we need to connect our region. Folks need to be able to get from point A to point B, whether it's public transit or just our roads. I drive some of them, and it's just it's deplorable. And so we have to do that. But it sounds very simple. But we have 110 members in the Michigan House of Representatives, and we probably have 110 different ideas on how best to do it. There are some but very few, who think we can do it with existing funding. The majority, I don't know if there is a majority. You know, there's variations. I personally would like to see. I don't think, and I'm not speaking for the House of Representatives or the Republican caucus, but I don't think the votes are there in the legislature to simply increase the gas tax and registration fees as proposed by the governor. So I think my second best choice is to put it on the ballot for a sales tax increase. And given at least the reaction I get when I talk to residents, I think there's a fairly good chance, and this is without any polling, but I just think that people are prepared to make that investment if in fact they feel it'll be used wisely. And we'd of course have to commit it to transportation. But that runs into problems unrelated to transportation. I haven't, obviously not in Lansing today, but I checked some of the comments from various members of the legislature over the weekend, and it looks like there are other issues because it's going to require a bipartisan solution. The Republicans can't do it alone, the Democrats can't do it alone, and so we have to come together and find a common solution and move forward. And my hope is that we won't let grievances from the past or desires from the future interfere with our ability to at least allow the public to take a vote on this and see if this is a priority. And again, I'm optimistic. I think it is. And if I could draw my ticket, I probably would put a 1% sales tax on the ballot and then reduce the amount on the 19 cents that we're paying per gallon, so that the taxpayers would go forward with the sales tax, but they would get some relief on the cost of gas, which I think has some appeal. Now we have to make sure we hold the part of that sales tax revenue goes to K-12, our education, as well as local government, both near and dear to my heart as well. So I think we need to get our arms around a plan, work the plan, and get something in front of folks as soon as possible. Up until now, and for the next couple of weeks, we'll be dealing with our budgets, trying to reconcile the House and the Senate budgets, and we also have other things on the agenda, including Medicaid reform or expansion and the no-fault bills. So there's a lot on the agenda right now, and I'm told that we try to get it all done by early June, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a plateful. But I'm hopeful that transportation funding, because you don't have to go very far and to find, no matter where someone who lives in our state, no matter what they do, what their needs are, I think we have a common interest in having a solid transportation system. So I remain optimistic, and I'm going to continue to work to try to find a common ground with others so that we can move forward. I think the last thing we want to do is just kick it down the road. No pun intended. and I'm a believer in what Joshua said, that, and this goes back to my experience in Walker, where we had to decide on an annual basis how much do we invest in our roads, and our engineer and Department of Public Works folk came to us and made it very, very clear that if you don't make the annual investment to maintain your roads, it's going to cost you much more down the road, and not just, okay, you save $10, it's going to cost you that $10 later. Well, the governor uses the illustration of oil changes. You can skip an oil change once or twice, but if you refuse to take care of your engine, it isn't going to be too long and you're going to be replacing that engine. You're much better off changing the oil in your car, and I think the same thing is true with transportation infrastructure. So I remain optimistic, and we'll see in the next couple of weeks where it's headed.
And lastly, but not leastly, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Eric. First, as a statement of full disclosure, I also, I'm a county commissioner. It's only a part-time job, and my day job is at Disability Advocates, working with Eric and many others. So I'll probably be switching my hats often through the conversation, and I'll try to remember which hat I'm wearing. But the comment that Eric made about transportation being sometimes at best in the back seat of the conversation is a way that I've recently been characterizing transportation. Transportation is almost no one's #1 issue. If I gave you one wish, most of, would it be a job? Would it be a house? Would it be health care? Would it be an education? All of those things usually trump transportation. But if I gave people 2 wishes, transportation is almost everyone's second issue. If it's, as Josh mentioned, helping the economy, helping people get to work, transportation. Health care, helping people get to the doctor. Education, helping you get to school. Once you have a home, can you get to the store? So transportation really is, we're going to have a lot of bad puns today, but it really is the connectivity of our community. Our roads, our sidewalks, our transit, our bikes, can all of these transportation modes help us move around our community to where we need to be? A rhetorical question, where were you on October 10th, 1996? October 10th, 1996, it was a Thursday morning. I can't remember what the temperature was like. But October 10th, 1996 is when the county commission, the Kent County Commission, voted against the creation of a countywide transit authority. So since that time, I've remained faithful and have continued to work for a countywide system. So almost 17 years ago, we had the opportunity. But one of the other pieces of trivial knowledge is Michigan has 83 counties. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing, of course, as Representative Verheulen already pointed out, we can't get from Kent County to Ottawa County right now via public transportation, let alone Ionia, Barry, or any of the other counties that we surround. However, because we have different counties, though, we get an opportunity to experiment in different ways. I happened to be in Marquette last month for doing a training for work, and the people in Marquette brag that you can go from corner to corner in Marquette County via public transportation. They also brag that Marquette County is the largest county east of the Mississippi. So if they can do it in Marquette, there's opportunities here. Another point that Representative Verheulen pointed out was that, and I believe one of the reasons why the proposal was defeated back in 1996 is because there was a tax associated with it, and it was 1 mil across the board. And so there should be a tiered tax system. And the cool thing is, less than 7 days ago, a county in the state of Michigan actually renewed their two-tiered system. Kalamazoo County, there's a tax in the city of Kalamazoo at one level, and then there's a tax across the whole county at a much reduced rate of only 0.4 of a mil to support countywide service. So again, the more you invest, the more service you get. And so how are we growing forward as a community? There are those opportunities out there. Absolutely, the Rapid has done great work for us. 1999, there was no Rapid. There was around 4 million trips taken that year. This year, I'm pretty confident that we're going to hit 13 million. Last year it was 12 million, just shy of 12 million. But this year, growth continues to happen. People find a system that they can use and they can rely on. So almost a tripling of the amount of service. So how do we continue to expand that and create opportunities? I believe there is a plan that we can start those discussions, and we'll probably bring that up in the question and answer period. And then once we hit Kent County, we can start talking about how do we get to a Georgetown and Georgetown Township, city of Hudsonville. And in the northeast part of our county, folks in Oakfield Township and Granton Township probably want to go to Greenville and Belding more than they want to come to Grand Rapids or Walker or even Grand Rapids Township. So really seeing ourselves as a region and how we can start breaking through these barriers that exist on a map in a very equitable and fair way for both the fare payer but also the taxpayer. So I'm fired up with all my hats on to continue to work on this. I continue to be hopeful because there's so many examples, as already alluded to, around the state of Michigan and around the country where people, we get to borrow from each other. People are coming in and borrowing from the Rapid and their good work. Now we need to borrow from folks on how do we expand outside of the 6 cities.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, now it's time for a quiz. Just playing. All right, you got each panelist's take on transit. A lot of information. And as Representative Verheulen pointed out, 110 members in the House. And guess what? Probably 110 different ways to solve this transportation issue. So as we engage today, if you have questions, please pose them. If you have a comment, just a general comment you'd like to make, please do so. Please do so. With the understanding that no one person will dominate the floor, no one issue will hold serve at this tennis match. So, if we are ready. Yes.
My name is Robin Saylor. I have parents who live on East Paris, and I can't get to them. Probably won't be able to get to them if the millage is 5 years away, 10 years away. And I'd like all of you perhaps to comment on that.
Okay, I'm thinking that's probably a question for Ms. Joyce.
Well, hi, Robin. Can't see you back there. Yes, Robin, I know uses paratransit, and the Rapid follows the ADA guidelines for our service area.